Good morning. I am the Reverend Denise Gouch. My pronouns are she, her, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to worship with the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashville. Our projectionist this morning is Colin Garrett. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have made a covenant together. We affirm our interdependence, celebrate our differences, and work for justice. We are a welcoming congregation, and we deepen our relationships as we serve our congregation's mission to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values in the broader world, guided by reason and compassion. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors worshiping with us this morning. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you may find it here. If you have questions about our congregation, please contact me. You can find my email address in the staff directory under Contact Us on our website, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you are with us for the live broadcast of this service on Zoom, you may wish to experiment with the view settings at the upper right corner of your screen. And won't you please say hello in the chat? No matter what platform you're using to join us for worship, you can find helpful information like ways to give, faith development resources for all ages, and more in our worship portal on the website, firstuunash.org. We are so glad you're joining us for worship.
Good morning again. My name is Jaie Tiefenbrunn. My pronouns are she, her, and I am delighted to be your director of music ministries. On this Music Sunday, we will take a tour through our year of creating music virtually. About a dozen to 20 singers came back every Thursday night on our Zoom meetings as we journeyed through internet latency and learning how to become recording artists. Today, you'll get to see some of those projects again. We still can't hear each other sing in real time, but as we've been learning, hearing many voices joined together is a much more fulfilling experience than just singing with me alone. So if you have earbuds or headphones nearby, grab them. You'll feel like you're surrounded by all of us, your choir, which you get to be a part of today. Our opening song is one of the first ventures into remote recording that we undertook. And the choir will tell you that one of my inspirations is The Muppet Show, and that is where I first heard this song. Harry Belafonte tells us the story of how he went to West Africa and met a Ghanaian storyteller who told the story of the sun, that's the fire, the mountain, and the river, and how together they turn the world around. This song has become part of the musical heritage of this congregation, and I invite you to rise up in body or in spirit and sing and dance in the space that you are in as we join in our all-congregational singing from May of 2020, Turn the World Around.
We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain,
Good morning. Our call to worship today is "The Time of Singing Has Come," adapted from the Song of Solomon by Laura V. Bellinger. For now the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come. The fig tree puts forth its figs, the vines are in blossom. They give forth a fragrance so sweet. For now the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come.
Marguerite's going to help us with the story today.
Good morning. I am Marguerite Mills, your Director of Lifespan Religious Education. And our story this morning, pardon me, my pronouns are she, her. Our story this morning, like everything else this morning, is grounded in music. It's a story about a place high up on a mountain in Mount Eagle. It was called the Highlander Folk School, which was a populist educational facility co-founded by Miles Horton in 1932. It helped to midwife the civil rights movement. Now, in this place, they, among many things, learned songs that they've been singing for years, many of them rooted in traditions of Black cultural resistance and crafted for political use by Black and white cultural organizers. Many people we still know about today visited the folk school. Rosa Parks, at a time when she was tired and possibly quitting the movement. And she went to the folk school, to leadership school there. And she got untired. And a few weeks later, she sat down on a bus. Eleanor Roosevelt went there, much to the dismay of many. But she went there and she ate with all of the people who were there. She spoke with them. Obviously, Martin Luther King Jr. was there, as was Pete Seeger, who, if you didn't know it, was a Unitarian Universalist very well-known folk singer, had a lot to do with revisions of some of those songs I mentioned. Now, the audacity of providing a residential learning environment that was fully racially integrated, it was soon noticed by both neighbors and state political figures. In the 50s, the center was vilified in the press for supposedly creating racial conflict and was accused of being a communist training school. Now, in July of 1959, a whole lot of people, adults and children, black and white, gathered together to watch a movie. The room was dark except for the light from the projector and the movie itself. And then some armed officials, maybe the sheriff's department, maybe the Klan, maybe both, they raided the Highlander Folk School. They were bringing all kinds of weapons, coming up in the trucks. And this was the final night of a week-long leadership workshop. Now, when these men entered the room where the movie was being shown, everyone there hit the floor. They were scared. Someone had the presence of mind to turn off the projector because now they were in the dark and they knew their way around. However, those men, uninvited, with weapons, they did not know their way around. They cut off the lights for their own purposes to help them. But then those men, they searched the building, they assaulted some of the people who were there, and they carted others off to jail. However, there was a humming that began in the room. It was the song many of us know today, "We Shall Overcome." And then others joined in. And then Mary Ethel Dozier, a 13-year-old African-American girl from Alabama, improvised the now familiar lines, "We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today."
We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I still believe we are not afraid today.
I invite you to sing the song to yourself or to hum as I finish the story. There was a Highlander-affiliated activist and a song leader, Wendy O'Neill, who said, "The song marks the freedom movement as a desegregated moment, a moment when Black and white were singing together, when we started to say we and not I." Now, following the raid, a subsequent Tennessee Supreme Court ruling forced the Highlander Folk School to leave its home. But they rebuilt, still in Tennessee, and Mary Ethel Dozier grew up to become a songwriter and a singer. And we continue to sing these songs of protest today. Jaie and I have talked on several occasions. We've talked about how we both love the way that songs support social justice movement and protest, and how they bring us together in a way that nothing else does. Whether you're humming, whether you're singing, whether you're moving, we just are that much more united and united in purpose when we sing together. And Jaie has more to say on the subject.
I have a can of worms that opened in my mind on the subject of a whole service about that. Choir has actually attended Music to Life's one Thursday a month roundtables about music and social justice movements. And after I'm done talking, I'll put it in the chat. We actually the choir sang an arrangement of a protest chant by one of our affiliated singer-songwriter composers, Elizabeth Alexander. The Justice Choir Songbook challenged composers to arrange protest chants for their songbook. And so let's listen and even sing along with "This Is What Democracy Looks Like."
We see that there's a wrong to be righted. 2, we know that we are stronger when united. 3, we exercise our right to assemble. 4, that's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, hey, hey, look this way. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We see that there's a wrong to be righted. 2, we know that we are stronger when united. 3, we exercise our right to assemble. 4, that's when the proud and mighty start to tremble. Just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, just in case you're wondering, hey, hey, look this way. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like.
Wow, that was fun. I had forgotten that one, Jaie. Thank you. You may know that we share every Sunday's collection with an organization whose work outside our walls aligns with our values. Our Share the Plate partner for the month of May is the UU Mental Health Network, whose work promotes the inclusion of people affected by mental health issues in the life and work of our congregations and in society at large. You can learn more about the network in the worship portal at firstuunash.org, where you can also find the link to our online donation form. If our celebration of Music Sunday moves you to give particularly generously, I invite you to use the non-pledge donation line in that online form to designate your gift in honor of Music Ministries. As always, your gifts, like your presence among us, are received with gratitude.
Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times,
Julie, you're muted.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry. It was so amazing to hear that arrangement by our incredible music director, Jaie. Again, it really brought up a lot of emotions for me. My name is Julie Grower. My pronouns are she, her. And I started attending First UU Nashville in the fall of 2019, soon after a couple of traumatic events in my life. Returning to a UU fellowship was a homecoming of sorts, since I had attended the North Shore UU in Manhasset, New York as a preteen and teen. I felt at home and anchored here, although I didn't know many in the congregation. One of the things that impressed me about the fellowship was the choir and the unique and challenging material they performed. Being a singer, I aimed to join them as soon as I retired from my full-time day gig in the spring. Well, as we all know, the opportunity to sing in person didn't happen in spring of 2020, but I discovered I could attend virtually. Meeting with the choir on a weekly basis and contributing vocal tracks was one of the things that kept me going during COVID lockdown. Holling, Jaie, and their technical helpers worked tirelessly to create beautiful performances from our individual recordings and accompany them with lovely visuals. I also learned some great vocal tips during our Thursday meetings and gained fellowship with the other fabulous choir members, whom I hope to have the opportunity to sing with in person in the future. Music is such a vital part of our worship, and I have the great gratitude that I was able to grow in my involvement with First UU Nashville during isolation and help keep the music playing.
Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you. I am so glad that you joined us, even exactly when you did. Beloveds, I invite you into a spirit of prayer. Once there was a wealthy church in a small town that gave a toaster to every new member. Someone asked the preacher at the poor church, "What do new members get?" The preacher said, "A chance to give." Our prayer continues in song.
A church is a chance to give. A church is a choice we live. So we gather in a sanctuary or someplace peaceful or somewhere merry, and as our cups all overflow, we reach out and share the seeds we sow. A church is a chance anew. A church is a chance anew. A church is a change of view. A church is a change of view. So we gather in a sacred place, a tear of joy on every face. We sacrifice for common good, for each soul in every neighborhood. A church is a chance to give. A church is a chance to give. A church is a choice
a choice we live. A church is a choice we live. A church is a change of you. A church is a chance to give the gift of you. We give ourselves and share our love anew. A church is a chance to give. A church is a chance to give.
Good morning. My name is Halling Smith-Bourne, and my pronouns are he and him. And I wanted to start by expressing my gratitude for this opportunity to be the collaborative pianist at this congregation. I enjoy this work so much, and over the last year, I've never been more grateful for this work and the opportunity to share my music with you all. I'm so glad that Tom just sang about church and this concept of church. Before starting this job a few years ago, I worked at a progressive Baptist church, and I learned a lot from the Baptists, especially about the word church. They make a distinction, and this was one that I had never really made before, between church the people and church the building. They would say, I'm going to the church house when they meant the physical church, and they would say, I'm going to church when they meant they were going to gather with members no matter where they were located. I quickly learned to sort of adapt my terminology, or it could result in a lot of confusion. You know, recently I've been thinking a lot about the church house, and more specifically our sanctuary, especially during the past year and during COVID times. At a time when people were, mostly staying at home, and where work life sort of merged with home life, and their hobbies and parenting and school and all other activities were done in one location, I was able to come to the sanctuary a couple of times a week to record the music for our services. Typically, I enjoy driving, but I really enjoyed driving the couple times that I went to the church house during COVID. The sanctuary became a sanctuary for me. I would value that time where I would transition to a unique space and a unique time. I was hoping that you would enjoy seeing me in the sanctuary in my videos, and that you would be reminded of the space and all the great memories that we've shared together in that space. I especially enjoyed being there during choir rehearsals on Thursday nights as a way to bring choir members into the sanctuary, albeit remotely. During COVID times, I have to admit that I wasn't always as focused as I would have liked. Often as I was practicing, my mind would drift off and think about other things, but mostly, I thought about you. I was trying to imagine you there in the sanctuary, participating in the service, singing hymns, and the lively conversations that we have before and after the services. In some small way, I felt like I was holding vigil for you until the time you could come back and we could all be together in person. You may already know this, but there are a lot of random sounds that happen in the sanctuary. When you actively listen or when you're recording, all these sounds suddenly come to life and they end up on the recording. And I think there were a few times when even I didn't hear the sounds, but Jay heard the sounds and said, hey, there's a weird sound on your recording. So I don't know that I can account for all those weird sounds, and I don't know that I believe in ghosts exactly. But what I do know is that your presence is there in our sanctuary. When I think about all the life events that have taken place there in our sanctuary, all the emotions, all the happy life celebrations, all the great music, the conversations, and the memorial services, certainly we all exist in that space, whether we are there physically or not. I thought a lot about what music might be comforting to you during this time or hopeful. I thought about what you might be singing at home or what you might be humming at home to kind of get you through these days. I hope that it wouldn't be too long until our sanctuary could also be a sanctuary for you. As I was recording the piano parts to the hymn, I would think about when you would be breathing between the phrases and the music, and I would put a little bit of space in between there where you would be breathing. Accompanists are trained to listen carefully to breathing and to breathe when singers breathe and when choirs breathe. There were a few times when Jaie and I recorded together and she was socially distanced and she had a mask on, and I couldn't hear her breathe. It was a very strange thing for me as an accompanist, and I had to physically look at her to watch when she was breathing instead of listening to her breathe. Breathing is a vital component of singing. Choirs breathe together, that's what we do. The way we breathe when singing is different than the way we breathe in everyday life. It requires us to use our respiratory muscles in new and different ways. Jaie is excellent at teaching singers and choir members to breathe in a very healthy, supported way. I left my car the other day and I had left my mask on the front seat of my car, and I encountered a friend. And my first instinct was to hold my breath and to stop breathing. And I thought, what a weird thing that was. I don't know if I thought I was going to stop breathing for the next 15 minutes until I was able to go back to my car to get a mask. But I wondered if you all had chances or opportunities in your life where you exhaled because you were holding your breath. Some of the first deaths from COVID-19 resulted from choir rehearsals in Washington state. I think it was clear right from the beginning that choirs would have to do something very different than what we were used to avoid breathing the same air. We all know that I Can't Breathe continues to be a rallying cry against police brutality. Breathing, something that we take for granted and often don't even notice, can be challenged by the effects of COVID or taken away completely by a police officer. So what choir in the music program at First UU has meant to me during this time is a rethinking or a reconceptualization of the term church. I think I'm going to reject the terminology of my Baptist friends and once again sort of merge my understanding of the word church to mean a lot of different things. Being in the sanctuary during COVID has made me closer to church, the people, than ever before, even during a time when we've had to be apart for a very extended time. Choir is absolutely a form of church. Being in the sanctuary has given me a keen appreciation how being with folks that share our values and our principles is a sanctuary for me, one that I count on and I depend on. I'm looking forward to when we can be at the church house, but also be church for each other, in person and in the choir. We can breathe together, we can sing together, we can breathe as a choir, we can stop holding our breath, and we can continue to join forces to stop systemic racism that is choking our Black friends.
Thank you so much, Holling. Not only for your reflections, but for being our collaborative pianist this year. And some of you may have noticed when Holling came on as staff that the title became collaborative pianist, and you just spoke to that change, which is the collaboration of choosing the music and being such an attentive accompanist for the hymns, and I am so grateful. I also couldn't have done this year without Karina Daza, who served as our children's music coordinator until last September. We still get to hear her voice on our recordings, and as far as I know, she is doing well here in Nashville. We also had countless volunteers, volunteer instrumentalists, contract instrumentalists, and engineers. And I also want to recognize the volunteers who created some of the videos that we've shared today and that we've shared through the year, Sean Appelt and Trig. And all the choir members, which if you're in choir or sang and recorded with us, if you want to use the reaction heart emoji to call attention to yourself, or wave at the screen, or hold your heart hands up so that the rest of the congregation can see who you are, I would like to invite you to do that. All of these singers endured the vulnerability of working with new technology, learning new skills, and listening to themselves sing, which is a challenge even for me sometimes. We produced even more recordings this year than we could share during one worship service. Our closing song today is brought to you through the collaboration of our choir and my other choir, though they would say you're the other choir, at Northlake Unitarian Universalist Church in Kirkland, Washington, where I serve as their music director remotely on an interim basis. This combined recording has become my favorite recording of Blue Boat Home, and I know that you have heard it before. This is especially moving with headphones or earbuds because you feel like you're in a room full of people. So if you have those handy, go ahead and grab them, switch to them, grab a tissue, turn the volume up. I invite you to listen or to sing along as we share in Peter Mayer's lyrics to the Welsh tune Herfordall, Blue Boat Home.
Still my drive.
Our chalice extinguishing was written by Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We'll build a love where we bind up the broken. We'll build a love where the captives go free. Where the oil of gladness dissolves all our mourning. We'll build a promise love that can be. We'll build a love where we bring good tidings to all the afflicted and those who will mourn. We'll give them gardens instead of ashes. We'll build a love where peace is reborn. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, then bring peace. Where justice shall flow down like a water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a love where those who go hungry are given the food that makes us so strong, restoring the balance to all of God's children. Come build a love where all will belong. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, and create peace. Where justice shall flow down like the water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We'll build a love where cries of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak. Where the oaths of righteousness stagger people. Come build a love that people receive. Oh, come build a love, come gather together, anointed by God, and create peace. Where justice shall flow down like the water, and peace, peace like an ever-flowing stream. Hallelujah, hallelujah, peace flows down. 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 Hallelujah,
Our worship has ended. May our ministry and our music continue, renewed.